This semester, we worked on redesigning the facility layout of the university store on Fifth, specifically the shipping and receiving department and the textbook department. Our team includes Ariel Ewis, Nicolina Nani, Katrina Zugari, and Kendra Lavalley. The university store on Fifth provides goods and services for Pitt students and the surrounding community. A mixture of full-time employees and part-time student employees keep track of inventory, organize the store, and carry out daily functions such as replenishment and checkout. Students primarily use the store for buying and returning textbooks at the beginning and end of the semester. This process is the focus of our project. We focused on the shipping, receiving area, and the textbook floor, as this encompasses the entirety of the textbook material flow.
The problem statement was broken into two categories, the shipping receiving area and the textbook department. The current method for receiving textbooks is inefficient and requires double handling and backtracking when receiving and checking books in. It contains tables of various heights creating non-ergonomic conditions for workers, and there's also long travel distances and no organization for storing textbooks after they're received and before they're placed on the floor. There's even an inventory space dubbed China because it's far away, unorganized, and causes replenishment delays. On the left, you can see the inventory space where there is little indication of what each box contains. On the top right is the unpacking area, which contains high benches that are not ergonomic to work at. The bottom right picture shows extra storage is just placed under workbenches. In the next slide, there on the left are storage carts kept in the way of the receiving area. The picture on the right shows storage behind pillars and under desks that are not ergonomic to access. The second problem is the textbook area. There's unintuitive organization where similar subjects are located randomly throughout the store. Students and staff experience difficulty finding textbooks, which causes excess flow and backtracking by students. There's also a lack of visual management and no easy way to identify sections and subjects. This increases the time it takes to find textbooks. There's also difficulty in obtaining managerial assistance since the manager's offices are located far from the textbook area. Finally, there are empty and overfilled textbook shelves and carts and boxes impeding the flow throughout the area. The first picture on the left shows that a cart is blocking the information desk where students receive help finding textbooks. On the right is a picture of books stacked on the floor.
We approached the redesign of the shipping receiving area by first walking through the shipping and receiving area to become familiar with the department. We then analyzed the current process of the shipping and receiving, and we also identified relationships between different areas and as well as problem areas, for example, losing inventory due to long travel distances. We then collected relevant data to assess and measure the impact of changes, and then we generated an alternative layout. Our data sources include the qualitative flow diagram of the current layout as shown on the left, conversations with management and employees to understand the current flow and relationships between different areas, and the measured distances between these areas. For this department, our assumptions are pillars and stairs cannot be moved, the Center for Creativity must remain in its current location, and the receiving dock needs to stay in the same location due to sharing with other locations. For this department, we created an REL chart to determine the relationships between the different areas. This chart can be seen on the left. We use this chart to assess the current layout as well as develop the alternative. We also utilized distance measurements to calculate the total distance traveled for the original layout. We only considered horizontal distances because the vertical distances will remain unchanged. Shown on this slide is our alternative layout. We utilized conveyor systems to move books and merchandise throughout the department. In particular, the conveyor from the receiving dock to the unpacking table eliminates material handling significantly. We also altered the unpacking area into a straight table in order to remove impediments during the trip to China. In addition, the computers were moved near the receiving dock for immediate order verification.
The approach for fixing the textbook area differed quite a lot from the method used for the shipping area. First, the team walked through the textbook floor to identify potential problems and constraints, as well as to get a general feel for the textbook floor layout. The team spoke with an employee about how the shelves were stocked to connect the process with the receiving portion of the project. Using a map provided by the store, the relationships between the different course departments on the text floor were identified, and once the data on the number of textbooks sold per course was provided by managers, an alternative layout was drawn up. The data used for analysis was a printout from the store's Raytex system, which manages all merchandise data. Used for analysis were the department, course number, number of copies bought by the store to sell, and number of copies actually sold to students for each book. Qualitative insights also came from the employees and management about the current flows of students through the text floor. While drawing up an alternative layout, several assumptions had to be made. The structural pillars, bookshelves, Center for Creativity, computers for student use, and information desks should not be moved, only the textbooks. And the books for the English learning students should remain in the front of the text area so they don't have to look very far through books that they can't read to find their own books. Additionally, the books for the elderly students in the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute program should be moved upstairs so those customers don't have to traverse through the stairs in their frail state. The data on text sales from the RateText report was then plugged into an Excel sheet and organized according to number of books sold per course. The graph on the left shows that most courses sold less than 100, and the average was actually around 21 books. Once the data was sorted in Excel, the courses were then separated into 3 categories to identify the top 20 some departments with courses that sold the most books, as shown on the right. Any department with a course that sold over 300 books was given first priority of placement in the new layout. Anything that sold between 150 and 300 books was placed in the second grouping, and all other courses were to be filler courses. From this listing, the departments with the most books to sell were placed in locations with lots of standing room for students, but were at the same time kept towards the front of the store. This is shown on the left, with the red circles representing the most volumes of books sold, and the yellow being the next highest. Departments with a similar topic of education were then placed nearby, and all departments with courses that sold almost no books were placed at the very far end of the text floor. This minimized the difference traveled for all students. Additionally, the map on the right with the blue circles shows the courses that freshmen typically buy from, and they were also kept near each other to minimize the time that those students spent on the floor, since freshmen are the #1 customer of the university store.
The new layouts show significant improvement from the original ones. There is a clear reduction of flow times cost times distance, mainly due to a reduction in the distance metric. Additionally, there is increased adjacency between important areas as shown in the REL charts, and increased ease of material handling due to the conveyor system. We recommend that the University Store on 5th purchases and installs the conveyor system. All other changes can be implemented manually through movements of tables and equipment as well as reordering of stocking. We recommend they pilot the shipping receiving area during the summer session and rearrange the textbook department for upcoming fall semester. They should also implement an electronic textbook identification system. Gathering metrics on average time spent in the textbook department, as well as interviewing customers about their experiences, will further improve the design. We would like to thank the employees and managers of the University Store on 5th for their help in answering our questions and giving us access to the facility. We would also like to give a special shout out to Kat for connecting the team with the University Store on 5th and for being extremely familiar with the layout and processes.